Hi, welcome to the Band in a Box 2004 video tutorial. You can see there's a lot of new information on the screen in this version, and we're going to take you on a quick tour of it. First of all, this is a song with a first and second ending. Here's the first ending happening here, and then it's going to go back to the beginning and play through the second ending. And this, you can also see there's a lot of new information in these toolbars, who are fully configurable toolbars on the screen, and there's a lot of interesting features that we're going to be showing you in the form of tutorials. One is audio harmonies, where you can sing and then generate 1 to 4 part audio harmonies of your own voice singing, and that's very configurable as well. There are DX plugins and DXI synthesizers available as well. So let's take a first little tour around the main sheet. As we take a look at the new screen in Band in a Box, most of it will be familiar to you because we kept the overall look, but there's a lot of new configurable sections of the screen. For example, there's a new toolbar area, and these toolbars are dockable and floatable, so that you can use them in this way and then save some extra screen real estate for yourself. There's same sort of toolbars exist here, and there's another toolbar here. These are referred to as the title area toolbars, and this is referred to as the main toolbar of the program. In addition, these buttons, depending on your screen resolution, there will be some buttons that are off screen, but you can still select these buttons, and if you do select a button, it is promoted so it's on the screen next time, and the one that was on the end is demoted. In addition, you can configure the buttons so that certain buttons can not be used and certain buttons can be used. For example, here's a button that will load the previous song and the next song, and if you see that these are now on your menu item here, then you can easily load in the next song in alphabetical order or the previous song. And these are functions that are previously available only by menu items, or hotkeys are now available by buttons, and it's a very easy way to program things. In addition, you can see on these toolbars that we've added some buttons for you, such as a save button dedicated and a save as button dedicated, and you can see on the toolbar here you can even add a third one if you want, which would be save as with patches, and if you press that button you get the familiar save with patches dialog. And we can show you some more configuration of this toolbars. If you go into the preferences by placing the preferences button, you can see that the preferences dialog itself has been reorganized, and there are tabs specifically for display options, which would be things like controlling the toolbars, arrangement options, which control how the song sounds with pushes and that sort of thing, count in and metronome options, affecting how the count in goes, and if you see and hear a metronome. MIDI file options are separate, and etc. For the other options here. But in this particular dialog, we're interested in the display options. You can see that the toolbar can contain either icons and text, which is the normal mode, or it contain icons only. So let's try that. And you can optionally hide the on-screen piano if you want. And when you float toolbars, they usually show text, but you can make this an option that if you just wanted the pictures, you can get them like this. So let's try this and see what that's like as a configuration. See, the piano is now gone. You're just left with the pictures, but as you move over the pictures, the hints give you a good indication of what they are. And now these, if you pull this window off, there's no text on them. So this gives you a more iconic look without text, which might be something that you prefer. Especially, we're at a fairly low screen resolution here, 800 by 600, yet we're able to display all the buttons properly in this mode. Here we've returned the toolbar to its original state by going back into the preferences and displays and selecting these items back to the original conditions. Now we're going to show you how to enter a first and second ending to a song that doesn't have a first and second ending. First important thing about first and second endings is to be aware of this setting here, which is called the fake sheet mode. When it's not selected, you're in the normal mode, which is also called the linear mode, and that shows, for example, a 32 bar form that will show 32 bars of linear music, regardless of if there's repeats or anything. For example, if the song consisted of a 32 bar form of AABA with first and second repeats, it would still show 32 bars, even though when you wrote it with the repeats it would be less than 32 bars. But that's where the fake sheet mode comes in. If you select that, then it'll show it with the first and second endings. So we'll show you what we mean by that by first starting out in linear mode and then moving to fake sheet mode. Here's a song. If you look at it, there's an 8-bar section, and then there's another 8-bar section that looks pretty much like a first and second ending coming up. So what you have here is a 6-bar section, then a first ending, then this repeat here, and then a second ending. So this is the pre-existing song in Band in a Box, and we're going to enter a first and second ending for it. And you can also, of course, enter songs from scratch with the first and second endings like that. So here's what we do. We click on bar 7. We say repeats and codas, first and second endings, or if we prefer, we can do that same thing by a button. And we get to the first and second endings here, and the first ending begins at bar 7. The first ending lasts for 2 bars, and we're ready. And we don't want to generate or insert new bars here because it's a pre-existing song. It has all the bars we need. We don't want it to be inserting new bars at that location. So we just say make a repeat. So here, now what you've got is the representation of it in fake sheet mode. And this fake sheet mode will show you the song with the first 6 bars here, then the first ending here, then because of the repeat sign you're going back here off to a second ending, and now you're into past the second ending. So you can see if the song play, and we can play it from this location here, and then it's going to take the first ending. Now that's showing you. Now here, if we toggle this, you can see that what you're seeing here is what's happening is it's taking the second ending here, and now we're after here. But if we stop, this is the linear representation of the song, and Band in a Box is telling you that here we're moving along, there's a first ending here, and these are the actual chords in the linear thing that the person will be playing, but they're shown in gray because they're part of a second ending, and that the music is really going back to the first bar. But the nice thing here is that you could type in custom chords for this particular part. For example, you might want to say B minor 7 flat 5 here, and then you'd be able to do that, and then it would actually have custom chords for the second part, even though it's in the second ending, that you could have that view. So it's important that you're able to enter these endings and then toggle and decide for yourself which view you want. Now if you're editing the song and you're doing with a vocalist, and you might prefer it in the linear mode, because somebody might say to you, let's play that from 2 bars before the second ending. So if you want to do that, you just click here, and that's 2 bars before the second ending. But on the other hand, if you want it in this sort of mode, you might want to view it on the lead sheet. Now if you click on the lead sheet, it's going to start out at bar 1 here with it not in fake sheet mode, but there's a checkbox here. So the lead sheet has its own setting for fake sheet mode or regular. And so you can see here we have the 4 bars per screen, and then we have a first ending here, and then if we go to the next page on the screen, you see the second ending, which is right here. And the song will play with the first ending here and the second ending here. So, and you can play from any part. When the lead sheet's playing, it highlights with a red bar at each bar. So here we're going through the second time through. And you can set the lead sheet up so that it's going to be able to play the whole song. For example, if you said don't show the title, and show. See, now we have the entire song on one page. by showing the 6 bars, and that's on a 800 by 600 screen. So obviously if you have a bigger resolution, you'll be able to spread out the staffs and everything. But this fake sheet mode allows you to display it literally like a fake sheet, and the reason is on this fake sheet it always shows you the first chorus, which is the melody of the tune, even though it could be the third chorus and people are taking solos. Obviously, if you have a fake sheet in front of you, you're not going to be interested in seeing the notation for all those solos. You're going to be able to see the basic form of the song with the first and second endings. On the other hand, if you get out of the fake sheet mode here, it's going to show you every chorus the person is taking. So you have the best of both worlds. You can toggle back and forth between seeing exactly what's going on at chorus 5 bar 17, or you say, no, I'm in fake sheet mode. I want it to look just like it would look if I had a piece of music on the screen, which is just showing you the melody first chorus over and over. So that's a brief overview of this repeats sections of the program, and the summary of the highlights of it is the fake sheet mode on the chord sheet, the fake sheet mode on the lead sheet, and what you see on both of them when you do that, and also the settings for them. There's this repeats button, or right-clicking on a specific bar. If you right-click on a specific bar, the advantage you get is that the specific bar you've selected is the chosen one. The types of repeats, you can have plain repeats. For example, if you wanted bar 4 to 7 to repeat 5 times, you could do that and set that there. First and second endings, like we've shown you. DCL coda, DCL fine, DSL coda, and DSL fine. The options are options that are available to you that affect the display of the screen, such as you can enable the display of the repeats and endings completely. You can display bars higher than the end of the song in gray. That's a new look we have in Band in a Box, so that if your song ends at bar 32 and you have a 2-bar ending from 33 to 34, any bars higher than that will be shown in gray as if they're disabled. Of course, you can still enter things in there, but it's just a visual cue to you. But if you prefer the original look where they all look the same color, you can do that as well. And so these are the main settings here that you can enable the display of the repeats and endings. And if you disable that, even loading a song with repeats and endings, you'll never see them in there because they'll be disabled. So that concludes our tour of the repeats and endings feature.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
For this part of the tutorial, we're going to show you a song called Listen, and we're going to illustrate it to enter vocal harmonies along with the vocal part. So here in this song it's a typical song with a 1 to 36 bar form, AABA type of song, or AA to AB type of song, and we're going to enter an audio harmony to this song. So the first thing we want to do is load in that song, and we've done it already, but let's load it again for you. It's on a folder on your install called Tutorial Audio Harmony. So we're going to load in the song Listen. First of all, you'll know if you look at the top of the screen that there's a 7 megabyte WAV file there, so that you know that in fact this does have this audio on it, and by playing you can confirm that that's there. Now, what this song is, Listen, is a song where we put in what's called the MIDI melody of the song. Now, the MIDI melody for you might call it by a different name, but it's just the fact of the melody being there in notation. And I think in this particular situation, when it was recorded in, the person just recorded the audio as they were playing a MIDI melody, so that made it easy for them to enter the melody at the very same time. Now, when you enter a song, you can either sing it, and you can either have a MIDI melody or not have a MIDI melody. If you have a MIDI melody, it gives you more options that are going to be available to you when you go to the next step, which is to enter the audio harmony. But if you don't have the melody available in notation form, you can just sing in, you can just type in the chords and sing, and Band in a Box will still generate the audio harmonies for it. Now to do this, once you have a song with a WAV file recorded, and if you didn't have one with a WAV file recorded, you would click to record an audio part for the song. But we've already, of course, got an audio part here. So the next step is that you want to enter an audio harmony. And what you do is push this button. The H stands for harmony, or in this case, TC Helicon harmony. And that's the TC Helicon Vocal Technologies harmony engine. And they're a world-leading company in generating these types of harmonies, and that's the type of engine that's powering the Band in a Box harmonies. So when you launch this Dialog, you're going to see three types of harmonies that you can do, and let me explain what each of them is. The first one is called melody pitch tracking only. What that is not a harmony at all, but what that does is if you've sung a part and then you have a MIDI melody in there, this melody pitch tracking will change the pitch of what you sung to the exact pitches found in the MIDI melody. So this would be useful for you in a number of situations. Number one, if you weren't singing in tune, and you could have it so it would correct the pitch to the correct pitch that you have in the MIDI melody, or if you had done a performance and you just wanted to change a note to a totally different note in the song. In other words, you sung in tune, but it was the wrong note. You can do that as well. Now we get to the two harmony options. Essentially, this option is available if you have a MIDI melody available, and the third option is called chordal harmony if you don't have a MIDI melody available. If you don't have a melody available, it'll use chordal harmony. That'll be based entirely on the chords of the song. For example, if it's a C chord and you're singing an E melody note, it's probably going to harmonize notes like C and G underneath. The harmonized to the MIDI melody is can be able to be a little more sophisticated than that, because it uses the Band in a Box harmonies that are built in, and because we know the exact melody that you're doing, it can do things like passing harmonies, so that if you played an E flat note on a C chord, Band in a Box might be able to put a passing harmony of maybe a B chord moving to a C chord, or a G7 flat 13 chord moving to the C, or something like that, a diminished chord harmony. So Band in a Box can do that, and in Band in a Box, when you're listening to a harmony, it's displayed on this piano up top, and when Band in a Box is playing your melody,
to the voice that
you can actually see, if you apply a harmony to it here, you can see that the harmonies go from blue to red, and that means every time it goes to a red harmony, that's a passing harmony, and every time it goes on a blue one, it's a chordal harmony. So that just sort of gives you an idea of how it works with the harmonies in Band in a Box. They can be passing harmonies. So here we're going to try this first option, which is to harmonize to the MIDI melody of the tune. And we can briefly have a look. Normally you would want your harmonies to contain the melody part, but we'll explain why you might not want to contain them. Also, you can harmonize the whole song or just part of it if you just wanted a harmony on the bridge. Your harmonies can be stereo, which is a nice effect. If you have multiple harmonies, they'll be spread out to the across the stereo spectrum. And normally you would want them output as a single wave file so Band in a Box can play them, but you can output them as separate wave files as well. You can transpose the MIDI melody down one octave. This is an important setting, which I'll explain. When you're doing harmonies, you want the harmony that the person sung, the audio harmony, to match the MIDI melody. Now, if you're a typical male singer, you're going to be singing in the bass clef, usually an octave below what most MIDI melodies are going to be written out. And this particular example, Listen, is no exception. In the song Listen, the melody starts on an E. On the notation is an E above middle C, but most men would sing that as an E below middle C. So the first thing we do is we want to make sure that the MIDI melody is transposed to the correct octave. If it wasn't, your harmonies are going to be generated a lot higher. So you can set, if you're a male baritone and most of the songs that you're bringing into the program are going to be similarly sung by a male baritone, set that to that, and Band in a Box will automatically try to guess at this octave for you. If you feel it's guessing wrong, or if you just don't want it to be guessing at all, just set that to none. But in this case, it got guessed right, and that the melody on the notation would have to be brought down an octave to match what's actually sung. So now we're going to enter the Helicon harmony dialog, and the MIDI will be transposed down. And now we're going to show you this dialog and explain what all the settings are for. Number one, here you have the slider for that's called dry voice level. What that means is the original wave track recording. And you see there's a slider here, louder at the top, and this would be totally off here. And so let's leave it in the middle. This is the MIDI melody harmony here, and it was a 4-part harmony, and you have the melody, and you have a voice 2 below it, and you have a voice 3 below it. If it just says voice 2, it means it's the second voice below the melody, and if it says voice 3, it's the third below. And voice 4 up, that means it's the fourth voice down, but it's up an octave, so in fact it's one above. And now there's panning settings that you can set for each of them, so you could say put this melody to this side and this to here, and set your own panning. As you'll notice, Band in a Box set up some initial panning for you, but you can pan them hard. For the purposes of demonstration, you could pan this hard left or hard right as you want. These are the individual levels for each of the harmonies here, which you can set, and there's a nice preview mode which we'll explain, which allows you to customize that before you have to leave the dialog. The gender setting is male and female, and in this one it's pretty low singing, so we're going to expect mainly male genders, and certainly if they've been sung already by a man, you're not going to have to change these very much. But if you're doing a male vocal and you're trying to transpose it up a long way, you should apply a little bit of female gender to it, and so we can apply a little bit in this case. But first of all, let's preview what we've got so far. And so when I press the preview button, you're going to hear the original singer, you're going to hear a MIDI melody changed into a vocal harmony doubling the melody, you're going to hear a voice 2 below it, you're going to hear a voice 3 below it, and then you're going to hear one voice up. So it's probably going to be a little bit low with those harmonies singing below, and we'll show you can choose higher harmonies. Let me explain these 3 settings as well. Humanization affects how tight the group is. You can set it to show how loose or tight they are. Pitch affects how once they get onto their pitch, do they stay dead on the pitch, or do they go on and off it like the original singer did. And portamento is how they change the pitch when they get to the how fast they change to the new pitch. Octave is a setting where if you want all these MIDI melodies to be in a different octave, which we might want in this because they look a little bit low here, we can just change this octaves. So first of all, let's preview the whole group and see what we're getting. This is going to be 4-part harmony applied to the song Listen.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
So what you're hearing is the melody, 2 voices below and 1 voice up being previewed. So now we could have, if you wanted to, you could isolate one of those voices. For example, if we put all the sliders down here, you're going to hear just this one voice that's up higher than the original melody.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
Or if you wanted to hear a voice
Listen
below it will preview what this voice sounds like below it.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind. Listen.
Now, if you wanted to bring all the group up an octave, or in fact just that guy up an octave, you'd preview this with him up an octave.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
Since he's now singing a little bit high for a man, you might apply a little bit of female gender to that.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
Now we'll bring in the rest of the group. Let's leave them at this higher octave and bring in the rest of the group. So we're going to turn it into more of a female sounding harmony, or at least harmonies. So now we'll have the original voice here. We'll have the melody, but we've brought all these guys up an octave. So the melody's going to be up an octave here. We're going to have a voice 2 below that. We're going to have a voice 3 here, and then the voice 4, and we'll hear how that sounds.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind. Listen.
So now we have maybe a better balance here, and you can just play around with it until you have the group together. Now, if you want them totally tight, you'd put the timing at 0, and then they'll be the tightest sounding harmony group you're going to hear.
To the voice that fills your mind. Listen.
Now, if you want to be a little bit loose, you're going to get something like this.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
So if you decide they're a little bit loose, instead of having to practice for 6 weeks, you can just move this slider back. So it's usually a little good to give them a little bit of timing variation and a little bit of portamento, means so they'll smooth in. So anyway, if you're happy with this thing, we'll get a little more on this. You can generate that for the whole song. When the song completes generation, it takes about 20 seconds to generate the entire song in this case, which is probably about 5 times as fast as the actual real time. You get a confirmatory message, which also has some useful information in it. It tells you the audio harmony was added successfully, and it's a stereo track in this case. You are able to undo the harmonies if you want to get back to your original. Now the audio harmony, it gives you a little bit of information here that the maximum level is -2 dB, and 0 samples were clipped. That's a good sign. The 0 samples were clipped. Clipped means if we set the volumes too high, it's possible for distortion to result. And if 0 samples were clipped, we know everything was fine. Now let's have a listen to this song with the harmonies.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
You can hear the original melody, and panned across the stereo spectrum,
just listen.
You can hear the 4 harmony voices.
Answers you didn't have before, and as you listen more and more, the world doesn't see.
Now, we'll show you some other harmony modes that you can do. First of all, if you undo the audio harmonies, you get the original track back.
The voice that fills your mind.
Now, an important thing with Band in a Box is that the harmony editing is destructive, which means that if you apply harmony to the wave track, that will be permanently applied to it, even if you haven't saved the song. So an important thing to do with a song as soon as you want to work with it is save it as a different name, like save it as listen to or something like that. Then your original listen is never lost. So here we're going to take the song Listen and try another effect on this harmony. And what we're going to do is try the chordal harmony, which is something that we could do. Let's say we didn't have a melody available to the song listen. Let's say we're just going to kill the melody. So this would be the case if you just typed in the chords of this song, picked up a mic, and sung, and you didn't want to be bothered entering a melody to the song. So now you're just gonna hear this, and there's no melody. So how would you enter a harmony for that? Well, you'll click the audio harmony button, and you can see that if you try to click here, it's gonna tell you you cannot harmonize to the MIDI melody because there is no MIDI melody available. Similarly, if you tried to click on melody pitch tracking, it's going to explain why it can't melody pitch track because there's no melody available. However, you still can do a harmonize to the chords of the song, and you can choose from amongst a number of harmonies, and 4 above would be fairly self-explanatory. Also, there's no transpose involved because there's no MIDI melody. So you could do a harmony type of 4 above, and let's give that a try. Same sort of idea here. We can set the panning to how we want it. And the harmonies are going to be done a little bit differently because it doesn't have a band-in-a-box harmony to track. It's just doing it based on the chords of the song. And these portamento settings are roughly in good positions. And let's have a preview of it.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
That sounds good, and you might make whatever sort of adjustments you wanted. You might say the group maybe sounds a little bit tight, and you might want a little portamento, and maybe you want the dry voice level up, and then we're ready to generate that song again. So let's press the generate button for the chordal harmonies. Now we have the successful dialogue again, and 0 samples were clipped, which is a good sign. And now we can play this back and hear what chordal harmony sounds like when the MIDI melody is not available.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
Very similar sound. It might be using different notes in certain situations, but very similar effect.
Answers you didn't have before, and as you listen more and more, the world doesn't seem.
So that's an example of the chordal harmony. Now if we undo this, we can get back to our original listen with it. And now we're going to show you pitch tracking. And pitch tracking, number one, this particular vocal performance is in pretty good tune to begin with. So let's do our best to change that. First of all, we have to load in the original listen song that has a melody in it, because we of course got rid of that melody in this tutorial. So now we have the melody back for listen, and we can enter in a typical way, a band in a box, how you edit a note. We could change this particular note here where it goes listen to the thoughts that fill your mind. You could change this D note to an E note. Or if you prefer to use these numpad insert and delete keys, and then you could change that note, cursor it down, and then move on. And this one, you could it's on a G13th chord here. You could change it to a more interesting note like a C sharp. Even though he didn't sing it as that. You could change that. So now he's going to do the MIDI melody to all the notes that you've put in instead of the notes that he originally sung. So let's just show you what, we're going to mute the audio here, and we're going to show you just what the MIDI melody is. That's one of our notes that we're changing. We're going to change that note, and this is MIDI. So that's an obvious one we're changing as well. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the audio harmonies, and all of our options are available now, but we're going to do melody pitch tracking here, and we're going to Make sure that we're down an octave because, as we remember, the MIDI melody is always going to be an octave higher than a typical man sings. And we're going to enter this, and you're going to see that there's one voice here, and that's the pitch tracking, and it defaults to the original guy being totally off because you normally wouldn't want to hear two people singing, one person singing the fixed one and one person singing the original one. And so here's the preview of our fixed singer.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind.
And obviously you can hear on the mind the corrected note. And so now let's generate this whole thing, and these same sort of settings apply. Portamento will be how quickly the pitch changes, etc., etc. And we'll just generate that harmony now. Now our harmony was added nicely, not harmony in this case, pitch tracking, and we're going to be able to hear the results. And so now we're going to make sure that the audio is not muted, but we will want to mute the melody, the MIDI melody, and now you're going to hear the singing with the voices that we changed.
Listen
and I'll give you the notation.
voice that fills your mind. Listen. Just listen.
Here's a changed note.
And you'll find
another changed note coming up on the right here.
You didn't have before. And as you
so that shows you the usefulness of pitch tracking. Not only is it useful in this case where somebody is a pretty good singer in pretty good tune, but if your tune was way off the melody, it'll fix it. I mean, if you just sung it in a completely monotone, if you just even spoke it, listen to the voice that fills your mind, it would pitch correct it to the correct pitches. So that's great fun to work with those sort of features. So with this audio harmony, just remember the key points that we've gone over in this tutorial is that an audio harmony, number one, there has to be a recorded wave part for it to be available, and then the next decision is there a MIDI melody available as well? And if there's no MIDI melody available, you have to do the chordal harmony. And if there is a MIDI melody available, you can either pitch track one voice of the singer to the correct track on the MIDI melody, or you can harmonize using any of the band-in-a-box harmonies. And we have a lot of harmonies that are made specifically for the audio harmony feature, and they start in this range of 163. And you can see the names are fairly descriptive, such as male 4-part with 3 voices down and the melody, or female 4-part, 3 parts up and 1 part with the melody, or here's one with a female 4-part with 3 voices down plus the melody plus the root. And if you can see, 3 plus 1 plus 1 equals 5, yet we're only able to generate 4 harmonies, and what's happening there is we're using the original harmony, the original singing, and counting that as 1, because these harmonies are all going to be on these different notes. The 3 notes down are different notes, and then the root of the song itself. So that's going to be able to generate really a 5-part harmony if you count the original singing as one of the harmony notes. But in addition, you can get real 5-part harmony here. For example, here's 5-part harmony with no melody, and that's 5-part harmony with 3 voices down and 1 voice is up. And that would be typically used in a jazz situation because you're going to get 5 different notes. For example, if it's a C chord and the vocalist is singing a high C, you might get a C, and then going down you might get A, G, E, and D. So those are 5 tones, different tones. So definitely used in a jazz type situation. That concludes our quick tutorial for the audio harmonies, and I hope you have a lot of fun with this feature. Now we're going to show you DXI synths in Band-in-a-Box. In Band-in-a-Box, for your output, I'm sure if you're familiar with the program, you're used to this section, which is how you choose your output. And these are all MIDI drivers For example, in this we're using a Roland sound canvas for output, uh, and there's also a Roland VSC software synth available. But that's different than DXI synths. DXI synths are their own separate type of output device, and what that is a plug-in type of driver that Band in a Box can connect with directly. Now, if you don't have any DXI synths on your computer installed, then you wouldn't be able to use any of these. Of course, you're still able to use the existing MIDI drivers that everyone has, but the more modern things that the synths are moving towards is DXI synth, and that stands for DirectX Instruments. The reason that people are moving towards them is that there's much more connection between the program and the synthesizer, so that the program knows exactly what the synthesizer is doing and can communicate with it. Whereas these, there's really no, it's a one-way street where MIDI goes out to them and the synthesizers are really not talking back. So here's what you can do, and if you prefer, you could have entered this dialog all the way from here by just pressing the DXI synths, and what it's telling you is you need to set up some DXI synths, sending you back here, and your thing is you want to connect this DXI synths, and you see what's happened is we did a quick scan of our system to see what DXI synths are available, and now this button has been enabled and it's able to be pressed. So we're going to press it now, and we're going to find out what DXI synths are available, and we're going to set them up. So here we see a list. Number one, this is a synth track panel. If you click here, you'll get to an audio track. Audio track refers to DXI plugins. Plugins are different. There are things like reverb and effects that you can apply to a track. We're talking about the synth panel, and we're going to see if we have any DX synths installed on this. And in fact, we do. We have a VSC DXI. So that is the Roland version of their, or the Edirol version of their sound canvas as a DXI instrument. So this would be familiar to a lot of you. This panel that shows up is something that the synthesizer itself supplies and has a lot of functionality built into it as well. So you can visit this panel just to make settings directly on the synthesizer for reverb, chorus, or delay, or that sort of thing. Reset button. Additional help available, changing you between the GM and GS2 settings and that sort of thing. So this feature is available, and you can save these presets if you want, and they're all saved onto into a dialog in Band in a Box format. Let's turn off our DXI synths. The DXI plugins work in a related way. And that is in the audio settings. It has a similar setting to use real-time DX plugins. And there we have a list that's a little bit different list, and you see it's a different panel here. And you can find things like reverb, and these are all PG Music DirectX real-time plugins. So reverb, so if you set that, you can have reverb settings and that sort of thing that you can apply to the tracks. And this is something that if you have the plugins enabled, that as you're listening to an audio track in Band in a Box, you could have a few different, you could have reverb or a 5-band equalizer and that sort of thing, and they would be going in that sequence, and you can save presets and load presets to do with that as well. So those are the DirectX plugins and the DirectX synthesizer instruments support in Band in a Box. There's a feature in Band in a Box which allows you to open up a MIDI file directly, and the advantage is it opens up the entire MIDI file onto the melody track, and it also figures out the chords for you. So you use this new command, open MIDI file, with the hotkey of F7, and probably that's the way you'll do it. So just set the F7 function key, and then you can open up any MIDI file. And so you, if you open up a MIDI file here, notice that the style is now disabled, here, which you could also confirm on this menu here that the style is not enabled. And that means that Band in a Box will not play a style along with it, otherwise you'd hear two bands playing at once. But here, when we press play, you're going to hear the music playing with that's the entire MIDI file on the melody track. Band in a Box is not playing. Now you can see a new feature here, which is the numbers displaying the notes. I don't know if it'll translate to the video with the resolution, but you know, for example, if you press pause here, you'll see that in the 7 here means that that's channel 7, and that 4 written in here is channel 4. So the usefulness of that is you can watch a file like this, and you can just visually see that the melody note is right here, and that's obviously on channel 4. So that tells you that the melody is on channel 4, and that's useful for a lot of reasons. Number one, if you're using the style wizard in Band in a Box, often you want to know things like what channels the various tracks are on if you're because you can make a style directly by pulling in the melody from a track. And here, in fact, yes, channel 4, you know all about channel 4 because you've seen it. That's the trumpet and that's the melody in the song. But the other reason you'd want to know that channel 4 is the melody is to use this other command, which is a new command, which is copy move tracks. That's quite a versatile command here, allowing you to do a lot of things. Essentially, you can copy from one track, the source track, to the destination track, and you can do various things. You can copy, you can move, you can copy with a channel filter. So some examples of what you could do: you could copy the bass track in Band in a Box, and you could copy the bass track to the soloist track. And you might do that if you wanted to edit the bass track on the soloist track, or double it an octave higher, or basically any plan you wanted to do with it. For example, with a style that has 5 parts, if you start moving parts to the melody and the soloist, you could conceivably have a part with a soloist style, or a Band in a Box style with 7 instruments happening at once. So you might find some usefulness for that, to create that. But if you wanted to copy from the bass to the melody, you would do that, and you just press to do it, and then that will do it. Now you'll notice that if you're copying from the melody, you have additional options. Here the channel filters have some meaning, because the melody in the soloist track could contain multiple channels, and they contain multiple channels if you had a MIDI file loaded, as we do now in this song. So for example, if we wanted to, we could copy all of the channels except our melody on channel 4. We could copy all of that to the soloist track, and we would do that by selecting all these channels and copy these channels to the soloist track, and that would move them effectively, leaving channel 4 on the thing. But to do that, we would move selected channels to the soloist, and then we would be left with the melody with channel 4 on it, and all the rest of them on the soloist. Another option might be we just want to get rid of everything except the melody, so we would say delete all except, delete selected channels is what we'd want to do on the melody. So if we did that, now when we look at the melody, we're going to see that just the notation now, and I'll move that notation screen up for you, the notation now just contains the melody, which, as we know, was on channel 4, which is how we found that melody. So that's a way that you would use Band in a Box. Load in a MIDI file. You can load in a MIDI file instantly. One of the things I like to do is just load in a MIDI file, and because you can see the chords instantly of it, and that's a very helpful way to learn how to play a song, because most people in popular music anyway like to think in terms of chords, and it really helps to learn a song if you can just open a MIDI file and see the chords instantly. But then if you really want to start working with it in Band in a Box, I'd recommend that you do that thing of of just getting rid of all the tracks except the melody. And then, of course, once you do that, make sure to re-enable the style, and that's easily done now by just clicking on it. And there's a menu item here that the style is enabled, and so you can enable the style. So that's a brief tour of that function. Another feature to show you is the lyric document window. Currently with Band in a Box, as you may know, there's a few ways to get lyrics into the program. One is to use the big lyrics window. That's a window that will show you chords. If you have this selected, it'll show you chords, and also will show you lyrics if you enter the lyrics in note by note, and that's a process where you enter into the lyrics, words like that into the song like that. But that's a good way to enter in lyrics. And the other quick way to enter in lyrics are called line-based lyrics, which is on this notation. You can just type in lyrics onto the screen right here, and that lets you enter them a line at a time. And that's a fairly good way. But people were wanting an even faster way, and frequently what happens is that and I'm just going to Alt-Tab to another application here, WordPad, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and it'll work with any other word processor. But let's say you've typed in the lyrics to the song that you wrote, and you just want to copy it to the clipboard using Word's copy command, and then move to Band in a Box, and open up not the big lyrics window, but this new one called the lyric document window. And here's what we've done is pasted the lyrics into the program like that. And you can see that this lyric window is now, lyric document window is part of Band in a Box. It's opened up on top of Band in a Box here. It's an always on top window, which is a good thing. And here it's in, and you can continue to type in the lyrics. So this is probably the fastest way if you just want. If you have lyrics to a song already typed into a word processor, you just copy and just paste them, and you can see that the copy, cut, and paste are right on here, and you can get all the things from there. Now this also is fully featured as a word processor, about to the level of a WordPad thing, where you can underline text and select colors and that sort of thing for the text. And all of this information is saved with the song in Band in a Box, so it's available. So you might do something like select it all and then move it to the middle and change the size of it to 20 point or something, and then if people are needing to come over to your house and sing a few songs or something, if you have them in this format, it might be a easy way to look at it. Currently it doesn't do any scrolling or anything with the song, so you try to get it so that the words fit on a page, or that you hit the page down key when you need to turn pages, just as you would in a book. But possibly in the future we'll add some sort of scrolling concept. But basically a lot of times people are happy just to see the lyrics in this format as they would in a regular word processor, where they're not jumping around all the time as the song moves on. So this is a feature, and tied to another feature, which is if in the big lyrics window in this, you'll see an option which is to auto open lyrics window for songs with lyrics, and that applies to both windows. And if that's the case, when you save a song, and then let's say you load in another song, and then you bring back the other song, which I've just done now. When I loaded the other song, this lyrics window automatically opens up, and the reason it automatically opened up is because there are lyrics in this song, and this other lyrics window also opened up because there's lyrics in it. And then if we open the next song, they close. So if you have that feature on, to always open the lyrics window when there are lyrics, it's a good setting, because you'll never miss any lyrics that are present in songs. The same type of concept exists for the memo, which is called auto open, and then if you open a song that has a memo in it, it'll automatically open up a memo. So if I said the song has a memo, and we save the song, load in the next song, and then load back to our other one. It'll open up that song memo window for us. So that's another one that you can either choose to leave that option open or not. And that explains those features. It's a feature called Hybrid Styles. Another one is available by a button that's available on this 800 by 600 screen with the extra keys here. Here's the button for it, which is a hybrid looking thing, and what you get is a dialog. Now, what is a hybrid style? A hybrid style is a style that you can make up combining elements from a bunch of different styles. So you can decide that I want to have drums from one style, bass from another, piano from another, guitar from another, and that you don't even want a strings part. So up to 5 instruments. So what you do here is, let's make a quick hybrid style. We'll take the drum part, and you click on this STY button, and it shows you all the styles you could pick from. And you could say it's probably a good idea to keep the feels of these styles pretty similar, but let's get an even feel, even 8 feeling happening here. We want a bossa nova, bossa nuvo drum part. We want 60s blues bass, piano will be from a jazz style, Bill Evans, or not Bill Evans, guitar part from Cha-Cha G, and a strings part from a ZZ Bossa. So now it's as easy as pressing this button, choosing a name for the style. We'll just call it A1, and our style has been made.
Listen to the voice that fills your mind. Listen.
Interesting style,
listen.
Definitely a hybrid, and
you'll
this was
find
almost randomly picking styles.
Answers you didn't have before, and as you listen more and more, the world doesn't seem to be the bad dream.
So it's an interesting way to create your own styles of music, maybe your own genre of music. Band in a Box now has support for odd time signatures. Previous versions of Band in a Box allowed you to have 4/4 styles or 3/4 styles, and you could use the edit time signatures to make combinations of these styles by setting a time signature for a range of bars. That gave you certain possibilities, but now we have a lot more possibilities, such as styles in a lot more time signatures. You can see in our styles list number 38, of which we include 3 styles or 4 styles with version 2004, and there's a lot more if you get styles list 38. We have all these sort of time signatures supported: 11/8, 13/8, 14/8, 15/16, 24/16, 5/4, 5/8, all sorts of styles like this. And you can see that a style like this, when it plays 11/8, number one, there's a few things. We'll set the preferences count in so that the count in happens like this to ensure that the count in is happening. Now we're going to play our 11/8 style song. Now the first thing you'll notice is the count-in, which was not a typical count-in. You get 1 bar in the way that you're supposed to count 11/8, and which is 4 groups of 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So it's 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3. And so you're going to hear that in the second bar. You're going to hear the actual 11 hits. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, you might be a little bit confused as to how to count in time signatures like that. Our demo songs for these styles help you out in that regard. The lyrics window and it gives you help on it, and the memo window also gives you help. And if you have the auto open option, these will open up automatically for you. So now you're going to see what happens when you press play, and then you're going to see the actual counting. And the way we count an 11/8 style is or in this situation is explained quite clearly here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 1. So you're going to see that displayed in lyrics because that's how it's been entered in this song. 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2. So now you get an idea of 11/8. And so Band in a Box now supports this style, and you can put up to 4 chords a bar. So you can experiment with a lot of interesting time signatures, including 5/4, and load in a demo. And it shows you how to count 5/4 and 1 2 3 1 2. And you see the chord changes where it should on after beat 3. So there's a lot of different time signature support as well. And if you have a visual metronome, the visual metronome will also include, if you put a whole song top visual metronome, it's going to show you 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, and so that's another way to help yourself. So if you really want to get into the odd time signatures, pick these styles, pick a 13/8, load the song demo, and count to 13. And the memo is very helpful on these styles. It tells you the way to count because, I mean, there's 13/8, and these compound time signatures really are made up of combinations of 4 and 3. I mean, that's how, in general, 13/8 and these style time signatures work. But the good part about the styles like this is you can change from one style to another. You can change from 13/8 to 11/8 to 4/4 to 5/4, just simply by the usual way of changing the style at any bar and just changing it to a different style. So I hope you enjoy these odd time signature styles and write some nice songs with them. The song list picker dialog has been improved. The song list picker is this button here, and when you press it, it's going to make this file first, and then you're going to see the new and improved song list picker dialog. And this dialog is currently displaying the files in the time signatures folder. One thing that's been improved, you can set the column width, but you can see a lot more information is displayed. The song title, the file name, the style, and you can see if you move across the screen, there's this hint over here on this side that tells you the name of every column. This column, for example, tells you if the style is found. If not, it puts a minus sign there, and all of our styles are found on this song. This is the style disc number, whether or not the song has a melody, and we can obviously see that none of these songs have solos, and they don't have line-based lyrics, but they do all have note-based lyrics because those have been entered for these odd time signature songs. It also shows the keys of the songs and other features about them, such as the genre of the song. For example, we could sort them by jazz or pop songs, and also the feels, and also additional information is shown, such as the form of the song and whether or not a tag exists in the song. So a lot of information is stored here, and you can store the columns, change the width of the columns, or sort them by whatever you want. For example, if we wanted to sort them by reverse style name like this, and it will remember the sort order that you've done, and all the other settings are also remembered on this dialog when you exit the dialog. So it's a lot more flexible in that regard. Previous users of Band in a Box are familiar with the 1 2 1 2 3 4 count-in that's been around for many years. But with version 2004, we have a new feature, count-in metronome, that is normally done as a count-in, but you could also use B substyle fills. You could use drum patterns essentially for your introduction. Typically you'd want to use drum fills, but you could use variations like a pattern then a fill, or 2 bars of a pattern. But let's do my favorite, which is B substyle fills. And now for your count-in, you're going to get 2 bars of drums instead of a count-in. This is especially useful for people who are using Band in a Box live, say on a dance floor, and between songs you don't want silence with an awkward band in a box sounding count-in. And so now here's what your count-in sounds like. So once you have that set, that'll work for any song. It'll always, in any style, it'll just automatically do that count-in in whatever way you suggest. Now, some more features with Band in a Box can be shown as the song is playing. If you right-click on the combo, currently if you right-click on any of these guys, you'll mute their instrument. But now if you right-click on the combo, you mute everyone. A similar feature is that when you click on the piano, if you hold down the control key, you can solo that part. So I'm holding down the control key and moving to these different instruments. And now you can hear what everyone else is doing. And if you look at the hint for the items, you can find that there's control keys to allow you to control it all. And if you right-click on everything twice, you can change back to the original settings. More settings here are, let's say you want the melody part to be louder. You can keep making it louder. But if you make it louder than 127, now we're at 127. Is that the maximum we can go? It normally is. Except watch what's going to happen. I'm going to keep clicking. And what's happening is if you go past 127, Band in a Box is going to reduce the volume of the other instruments. Similarly, if you drop down and hold the control key, Band in a Box will pull all those other instruments up. So there's a lot of useful things there, and they're explained quite well in the hint that shows up. But essentially, if you're on the volume and you go to 127 on an instrument, any clicks past that are useful clicks because they cannot increase the volume of the melody, but they will decrease the volume of everything else. And a similar effect can happen if you're reducing the volume of the melody, and if you hold down the control key, not only will you reduce the volume of the melody, but you'll bring everything else up. And that's useful, those commands, to quickly change the volume dynamics of a group. With this version of Band in a Box, we introduce a new series, 101 riffs or phrases, essential riffs and phrases series. They'll normally, if you have any of these items, they'll show up in your Band in a Box directory under a folder called 101 riffs, and you can see we have a number of them available. For example, we'll look in the 101 riffs series. Now what these are the most essential jazz riffs. If you're learning to speak Italian, you need to learn essential phrases in Italian to get you really started. And this same idea is being applied to learning certain styles of music, and these have been selected by top jazz musicians as the best phrases. If you were going to learn 101 jazz phrases, what are the best ones to learn? And these range in general in the intermediate to advanced level. But of course, if you slow them down, you can make them applicable to any speed. For example, here's one that's definitely in the advanced category. For starters, you're going to see this is a phrase. So it's a 4-bar phrase. It's repeated 10 times, and you're going to be able to hear it. Number one, they're all, being essential phrases, they're all over very common chord progressions. Here's something we'd all see over and over. A 1, 6, 2, 5 progression for 4 bars repeating twice. So let's hear what the essential jazz phrase number 44, jazz piano phrase is. Now, ways to learn this phrase. The most obvious one is to use the play tempo, because you can slow it down to half speed. Although it's a menu item, it's much faster to hit Control minus, and which I'll do now. And now, of course, you can open up the notation window. So that's definitely a good phrase to learn. And if you've figured you've mastered that, you're not finished. You can now learn it in all 12 keys. We've made a copy of these in all 12 keys. Now this is the same phrase here in all 12 keys. It goes up a fourth each time, and it does it 12 times, so you're going to actually end up playing it in every key. You can see we start in B flat, we go all the way down, and our 11th one is in F, which would put the next one in B flat, and here we go. So now here would be when you've mastered it and you're able to play it in all 12 keys. This is slowed down, and if I press Control equals, we're back to regular tempo, but I'll play. And Band in a Box will keep playing it in within 1 octave each time. So it's now we're back to regular tempo. Now, if you learn the power of learning even one of these phrases, if you learn just this one phrase and mastered it in all 12 keys, look at all the great music you'd be able to be playing. Because all those phrases that you're learning are so applicable to many different phrases. Anyway, here's your 101 of jazz piano phrases, and there's also many more in this series, such as bluegrass guitar, blues piano, country guitar, jazz with all instruments, and jazz piano. And here's an example of in the country guitar realm. There's features, this feature available where there's audio memos available, and if there's an audio memo available, there'll be MP3 files in the directory. Currently only the country guitar ones have that, and then if you press the memo for that,
Like
you're going to hear a description.
Double stops.
You're going to hear a description of the how to play
and
the
ring
riff.
finger. Play the second and third.
And that helps you play the riff. But of course, you know, the riffs already play on the guitar. And these are really hot Nashville country licks and show up beautifully on the guitar. And let's slow down those. You know, you can step through those licks as well. And there's 101 of those country guitar riffs, and each one of them has not only a and then play it at tempo. And if you need more help, open up the song memo window and hear an audio memo about that very lick.
CG004. The most important thing on this lick is to keep all the strings ringing like a banjo. It's kind of
so that's Mike Harrison, who did a great job on the 101 country guitar riffs. Another feature is the transpose each chorus feature. If you are familiar with a tune and you're used to playing it in a certain key, it might be nice to play it in a different key each chorus. This is especially useful for jazz musicians who are trying to learn a song in a new key. So what we do is press the preferences and then go into the transpose, and we see that there's a new setting for each chorus that a song is playing transposed by a certain number of semitones. So you could, if you set this to 1, it would transpose each chorus, it would transpose up a semitone. And that's one way of doing it, or you could go up 5 semitones for a perfect fourth. And the nice thing is a band in a box, it's not just doing a simple transpose. Band in a box number 1 keeps the melody within an octave of the original and also redoes the whole arrangement so that the bass player is not getting higher and higher or something. Everyone's still playing musical things and the guitar player is still playing real guitar chords and that sort of thing. So let's try 2 semitones each chorus. And that means once that setting's made, that every song we play from now on will transpose. So if you've got an old set of familiar tunes that you're working with, challenge yourself and have them transpose each chorus. So here's what we'll so now we're ending E flat. Now we're in the key of F. And the same thing's going to happen, of course, at the end of this one. When this chorus ends, you're going to transpose it up to G. So I hope you enjoy learning music in 12 keys. There's a new feature which allows you to copy and repeat the copy several times. For example, here's a little one riff that we've put in, and it might be a riff that you put in yourself and you want to learn in different keys. So we have a 4-bar phrase here, and what I want to do is copy it a number of times. So I use this Alt C, which is Alt Copy From, and you can see that there's more options than there used to be. If you want the familiar look, you press Show Less, and that would show you what there was in previous versions. But if you show more options, you're going to see that we can copy from bar 1, and we're going to copy 4 bars, and we're going to copy it to bar 5, and we're going to want to repeat this copy, say, 10 times. But each time we copy it, we want it transposed, we'll say, up 1 semitone. And if you do that, you can also copy the first chorus to the whole song. So that will fill our whole song up with what we're doing. And here's what we've done. And now we've got the same riff is now in 12 keys of music. And or actually I did 10 copies, so it's in 11 keys of music. And of course it'll play like that. So that's a very useful feature for you to learn your own riffs and transpose them to different keys and practice things in different keys. Band in a Box on the soloist, previously we were limited to 250 soloists. Now we've got up to 1,000 soloists, and we've added a lot of new soloists with version 2004. Some of these are optional or only available with the Mega Pack, and some of them are what we refer to as the Artist Series. The Artist Series means we actually got the performers themselves to design the database that underlie these solos. So for example, Andy Laverne, the well-known jazz piano player, made this Andy Laverne artist soloist mainstream jazz, and there's also an Andy Laverne pentatonic soloing. And we also, Jeff Lorber, who's also a well-known player for fusion music, and did a fusion artist soloist. And so in these ones you actually get not imitation of them, but more or less the real thing. These are databases designed by the artists themselves. So if you want to hear what some of these new soloists sound like, you can, and if you have the soloist discs, you can just play the demos. For example, here's a Django one, obviously not part of the Artist Series, but this is one of our Django simulations, and you can hear what that sounds like. So this the guitar part you're hearing was is a solo generated by Band in a Box, and of course would work on uses types of phrases that Django might use. And you can check out, if you have any of these new soloist discs, check out any of the demos to hear what these things sound like. Soloist 11 has Satch trumpet soloing. Here's an example of the types of solos you could get over any chord progression. Using typical Satch phrasing and vibrato. There's also Wint modern soloing available. Very different type of phrasing, but still appropriate for trumpet. So I hope you enjoy these extra soloist discs that are available with Band in a Box 2004. With Band in a Box, there's a new type of harmony available called low root harmony. And what that is harmonizing a note, not using, for the lowest note, not using something that's 4 notes below the 4 chord tones below, but always using the root. And this is something that is used sometimes by, we'll say, the baritone sax, for example. So some of our harmonies have been designed this way, and let's have a listen to what it'll sound like. First of all, I'll mute everything except the melody. So now you're going to hear, and you should be listening for the lowest note. And if you can hear, that's baritone sax, and he's always playing the root of the chord. He'd be playing a D, a G, and a C now, and a C sharp. So it sort of gives an a cappella effect, and also sounds nice with the whole group as well. So if you want to make your own harmonies that way, here's what you do. You click on the harmony, you click on edit, and you'll notice in this dialog there's now a low root setting, and you would check it, and you would say that it should be done on baritone sax. It should be maintain the low root between these 2 notes in the range, and if you need a velocity boost. And that's the low root settings that are present on a number of these style of the harmonies, typically the ones in this range here, sort of in the 150s range, and several of the audio harmony settings also have a root, which means a low root added, so because it's done frequently on a cappella singing as well. With Band in a Box, if you have a song in 4/4 time like this one, you can, or any song in 4/4, you can change it to any style that's in 3/4, and it will automatically convert it, the melody. It'll ask you if that's okay, and if you say it is, then it'll play the song in 1, 2, 3. So you can play that as basically play any song you want as a jazz waltz or something like that. And the same applies to a 3/4 song. You can switch to a 4/4 song. If you have a song in 3/4 time, like this one, you can just pick a 4/4 style and instantly switch it to that 4/4 style. So let's pick a style. It helps if it's in an even feel, of course, the same sort of feel, but and it'll ask you if it's okay to change this waltz to a 4/4 song. So now you're going to hear the same song done in 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's an easy way to convert songs from 3/4 to 4/4 and 4/4 back. You can customize the drum kit by opening up the preferences and pressing drum kit. You can customize the drum volumes. For example, if we want to enable this, we could say we want our acoustic snare. If our drum kit happens to have a quiet snare, you could say give me 20% higher on this, and then you can basically customize your kit. I'd like my low toms to be minus 10% of what they are now, and that'll all show up there, and then this will be enabled on your band in a box playback until you deselect that. There's new styles that's available with 2004. There's the World Styles 2, building on our initial World Styles 1, and that gives you styles like African, and you can hear them just by clicking on them and playing the load song demo. Eastern Rock, Israel, Mexico, Papa, Scandinavian, Viennese Waltz, the About Time disc has been discussed, but it's all sorts of different time signature styles. Seven 8 styles, for example. 11/8. 1916. Seven 8 jazz funk. Here's a great rhythm and blues styles disc on styles disc 39, styles disc 40. So I hope you enjoy some of the new styles present on these new styles discs, and there's a requested styles disc as well, which has some great ballad styles on it. As you can see, these styles are useful at slow tempos like tempos of 70. You can hear the piano players laying out. There's a new styles variations in the jazz waltz and more. So I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed Band in a Box 2004.